Let's get into our next topic. Should migrants on benefits be stopped from becoming UK citizens? 0207-862-2222 is the number. In her first new policy as Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch has vowed to make immigrants wait 10 years, double the current amount before they can apply to stay here permanently, and then a further 5 years before they can seek citizenship. And she says that if they claim welfare or use social housing or fail to contribute to the UK economy, during the first 10 years, they will be blacklisted. She wants to bring in rules to prevent people who come illegally or overstay their visas from being allowed here permanently. So let's have a listen to a bit more of what she had to say in her interview with the BBC's Chris Mason.
It's the right thing to do. It's the right
That's
thing
just
to
a
do.
hunch.
No. I know it is the right thing to do. It is because we have been giving out leave to remain and citizenship that we now cannot sustain our public services. Not enough housing to go around. People can't get a GP appointment. And what I find is that every time I'm talking about how we need to bring migration numbers down, we always focus on the edge case of, well, how exactly will this bit have an impact and so on. And we create almost a chilling effect of doing anything at all because it's all too difficult. This is how we've got into this mess in the first place, in my view.
So there she is, Kemi Badenoch. It's taken quite a while to get the first policy out of her, actually. I mean, she's been leader for a while. So what do you think, James? Do you like this?
I would say, is that the best that she could do for her first policy? So I think we all recognise, left, right, middle, that immigration has been problematic in this country. I think we've had poor conversation in respect of legal migration, illegal migration. I don't think that much has been done to stop the boats. If you have a look at the numbers, another 400 in the last week, all of that stuff, we haven't really been focusing on the tremendous cost of all of this. And when you hear a policy like that, 5 years and all the various changes that they made back when they were in power were pretty difficult. That is not the problem. So what you've got Kemi Badenoch, who's doubling down on a policy that was pretty tough already, and that's not the problem. As opposed to, well, why has the door been open for legal and illegal migration? What are the issues that we're going to tackle? And what are the policies that people are going to buy into? And finally, all I would say is that I think she's trying to somehow use her university style of debating to come up with something to look as if she's being as tough as Reform or as populist as Reform in order to try and get some of their votes. It's not going to work. She's going to have to do better than that.
But, OK, what do you think, Carolyn?
I'd say 14 years of Conservative rule, they had ample opportunity to do this. Instead, they came up with a ludicrous Rwanda scheme that cost absolutely millions. And James is perfectly right. She's trying to get back the voters who left the Conservative Party and went to Reform. And if this is the best she can come up with, well, back to the drawing board, love.
What is the Labour plan on it?
Well, we've been in power for 6 months. We're still trying to clear up the mess that we've inherited from the Tory government. But the stuff that she talks about...
Is there a plan, though?
Well, yeah, the Home Secretary will have a plan. She hasn't discussed it with me, strangely enough. But I mean,
to keep migration down.
But what Kemi Badenoch is saying about not giving people any money to live on, currently people who haven't got right to remain, they are paid out of the NAS money, which comes from the Home Office. They don't claim benefits. They're not entitled to claim benefits.
We had a story saying they were giving money for new clothes the other day.
Well, if they have not got status, then they are very limited to what they have.
Maybe, James,
I don't deny there's a problem with immigration.
Right.
What I do
James
think
is a free market guy. You know that if we leave things, our birth rate is dropping through the floor because house prices act as a contraceptive. And if we leave it like this, we're all going to be old people with no young people in the country. So maybe we should turn this around and say, and you're a free market guy, you just say, if our country's a magnet, let's celebrate it. Let's let everyone in.
Free markets work when... either ultimate freedom of markets or alternatively restrictions. You are never going to have a truly free market when it comes to a country. There are always going to be restrictions. And if there are restrictions and you've interfered with the market, then it means that you have to put things in place. I think the simple answer is not to build, gazillions more houses, because then you just fuel the flames.
Not to build them?
No.
Really?
That is not the answer
I've
to our
never heard
problem.
anyone say that.
Well, that's because people don't think about the consequences.
How are young people going to... We've got young people on this show who are having to still live with their parents.
So there are things, but you see, let me finish the point. If you just build more homes and you don't change the rules and you don't change how our population is growing, then you are simply going to be fueling the flames, and then you're not going to have more homes at the end of it. So you'll have a whole load more homes. Some people will have been housed, obviously, but you won't have solved the problem within the market, and you won't have solved the problems within the provision of supply, and you won't have solved the problems that we have as a nation. So you've got to look at this in the round, which means that you've got to deal with the immigration and the problems. Then you've got to provide better solutions to building housing. And I'm afraid Angela Rayner has got it wrong when she thinks that you can just build. We've got more planning permissions available to build today.
We need to build, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. We need to build more homes. We need to build more affordable homes. That's the key, isn't it? I mean, it's properties people can
Which is
afford
what,
to buy.
£100,000 or something?
Yeah. I mean, and there aren't many of them around.
No, there
now.
aren't.
Yeah, but why? Because
there are some in your
you can't
constituency,
just
I'm
build
guessing.
them.
Are there?
Not
many.
as many as there used to be. I mean,
Wow.
house prices go up.
How do you provide something which is affordable if the cost of providing it is more than what you would like to charge for it?
Subsidise it.
Well, I mean, the social housing providers, there's joint ownership. There's, it's about getting people into their own property, and if they can, onto that ladder, because it means such a lot to own.
Of course it does,
Why
and
don't you
home
just-
ownership,
all right.
I would put at number one.
Let's not range too far. Let's just stick on this idea. But Kemi Badenoch saying it is Badenoch. I've said Badenoch for
It's Badenoch.
Oh, I've got into a bad habit. Yeah, it's Badenoch for sure. So she is saying that if you are a migrant, you move here, you may be working, but if at some point you dip into, you need to have social support or you have a council house, you will then not be allowed UK citizenship. So it's quite tough. Jean in Dorset, is it tough enough or too tough?
My question, Jeremy, is why are they claiming benefits as it is? We need people to come here and work and contribute to our society, not ultimately to be handed British citizenship as a reward.
Okay.
I used to work as a benefits advisor for a national charity in an inner city office. And I can tell you the things I saw and heard there in terms of benefit claimants in general, but in particular from immigrant population, would be enough to make your hair curl.
Well, so I'm thinking you must have been Citizens Advice or something like that. So you're a resource for people to come and ask you questions. And what they're just basically finding new ways of claiming things, are they?
Oh, no, please. I'd love someone to do a documentary, a fly-on-the-wall documentary in an inner-city office. No, they would not come and ask questions. They would come with a shopping list. And I actually cut my teeth when I was doing my benefits training. I learned probably more from the migrants coming in with their benefits shopping lists than I did from my mentor.
Okay, well and when you say shopping list, I mean, I can't just go into some government office and say I'd like to claim for invalidity benefit, for example. Okay, I can't do that. How is it working, having a shopping list? How does that get them anywhere?
Well, I'm talking about a passport benefit, which will lead to other benefits, which at the time they knew about and I didn't because I was training.
Wow, this is terrible. So the passport benefit is something like universal credit, is it? Or is it a pension credit maybe even?
Well, no, you take pension credit. If you claim pension credit, that will give you eligibility to other benefits, like the winter fuel allowance.
But you've got, sure, I understand that's a passport benefit, but you won't get that if you're 35, will you? So that's not, you can see through that, can't you?
No, but in terms of that particular genre of people, a typical scenario would be better off calculations. If I work 16 hours a week and only 16 hours a week, what does that entitle me to?
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jean. It's a bit hair-raising, isn't it? The benefit system is just being worked.
But a system will always be worked.
Well, yeah,
and I think you have to take account of the fact. Yeah, no. And this is
you can't be that complacent about it.
Some of the articles which are written tend to focus on where the system has gone wrong or something is not working. But we do have a system where, people game it.
Right. Yeah, well, clearly, Martin in Surrey, hello.
Yeah, good morning, Jeremy.
Do you think Kemi Badenoch is up the right street here?
It's too late. It's closing the stable door after the horse has bolted. Jean from Dorset summed it up perfectly.
Well, concerning, the idea that the benefit system is like a casino.
These so-called asylum seekers who are fleeing persecution, they're all young men in their 20s and 30s. They trample to death young children in France on the boats. They have no care for a kid who dies in that dinghy. Now, and also when they arrive here, as Jean said, they know exactly what they're entitled to. They go to the front of the housing list. They do. And don't let anyone tell you they don't, because they do.
Is that right, Caroline?
No, I don't think it is right. I mean, every local authority and housing providers across the country will have contracts with the Home Office to provide a percentage of housing, but that housing does not come out of the mainstream stock, which is for you or I to get housing.
Yeah, but if you arrive as a migrant with a young child, you will go ahead of somebody.
But it would be ahead of another migrant.
Yeah, but this is the point. We are spending
most
billions
of it in hotels.
We are spending billions of pounds a year that if you arrive on a small boat and if you are in that queue, then you are entitled to certain money, certain benefits, certain support until you've been processed. And those
not
people,
state benefit.
You can, I call it what you like. It's your my money.
It's a lot less.
It's your. I don't care whether it's a lot less or not. It's your and my money costing us, the nation, a fortune.
But the alternative is to have people living on the streets,
or to send them back from where they came from,
committing crime. I mean, have you ever been to Europe? I mean, the lucky men, and seen all these people selling handbags and whatever. We haven't got that, thankfully.
Well done, the EU, for creating...
They've got to live off something.
Well done, the EU, for creating Schengen, for creating freedom of movement to people, for creating this problem. And well done for Tony Blair opening the door and all the Conservative leaders leaving it open.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, we've ended up with a mess.
Later is the papers and everything else.